Are you thinking about purchasing the Alienware Aurora R7 or leaning towards the Aurora R8? Do you know the difference? Well, you probably should learn that before you go purchase either one of those, so make sure that you stay tuned.
Welcome to Live Streaming Tech, and if you want to learn to stream like a pro, make sure you click that subscribe button and turn that bell notification on. Today, Dale and I are going to look at the difference between the Alienware Aurora R7 versus the Alienware Aurora R8, and which one you should possibly purchase.
I picked up the Alienware Aurora R7. If you've been following this channel long enough, you know that I did an unboxing video and we did a look inside. I'm very happy with the R7, and of course, not too long ago, before we launched this video, we did a little bit of a should I upgrade my R7? We kind of came to the conclusion I'm pretty set, but now my mind's kind of going towards, well, R8. I'm starting to get this buyer's remorse because less than a year after I purchased the R7, the R8 rolls out and I said, dude, do I need to pick this up and just trade it on in? So give me a little bit of a breakdown, R7 versus R8, and which is going to flush out as the winner if somebody's first buying it or currently owns an R7 and should they upgrade to that R8?
Okay, so what I did is, because there's so many different variations you can get when purchasing the R7 and the R8, we need to look at two things, whether you own the R7 already or you own neither of them. So for Dale's instance, he already bought the R7 a little over a year ago. And when that R8 came out and he was wanting to upgrade, the question is should he have dropped more money and upgraded the R8 and possibly kept the R7 for a second CP or PC to use, or just stick with the R7? And my advice to him was to stick with the R7. The upgrade differences between the R7 and R8 were not extravagant. And now what I'm going to look at is, we're not going to look at the entry points because the fact that for most, reason being is he uses his PC for a lot of video editing and live streaming. So I told him to stay away from the i5 Intel process builds on the R7. And obviously you'd want to stray away from that also with the R8 if you're looking at using this PC for this type of work. So let's look at what he went into. He went into it with the i7, the 8700 processor, which is an Intel 8th gen. It has the 6 cores, and then we compared it also to the Aurora R8 that also had that same processor. Now, as we went down and we took out the fact that he upgraded, spent a little bit more money for the M.2 and the hard drive space, he went with the 2 terabyte versus the 1 terabyte, and I think you did a couple more bells and whistles on there. But yeah, as far as, so we're gonna take that out and pretend that he didn't even buy that. So we're just gonna look at the entry level i7 build and the entry level i7 build on the R8. And the only difference that I could see was the fact that they're going with the RTX 2080. And really, as far as live streaming goes or video editing, you're not going to see that big performance boost. Now, before you guys beat me up on the comments below saying, well, wait a minute, Streamlabs OBS and OBS Studio released the newest features to where you can use your GPU, which actually you could do that beforehand. I'd like to point that out. But now they've dialed it even more to where you can use the GPU versus your CPU to do live streams. So you're using that resource instead of using the CPU, which frees up a lot of overhead as far as playing games and whatnot, because you can always turn the graphics down. So looking at that, everything else is pretty much cut and dry. It comes with the 1 terabyte hard drive. Matter of fact, I will say though, they did add back the optical drive on the R8. Which was weird because I know Dale was asking that when we were purchasing his R7, that the fact that it didn't have the optical drive, should he need it? I was like, well, unless you're watching DVDs or burning DVDs on your PC, there's no reason really to have it. So it looks like as far as the Amazon's version, and by the way, that's where we're comparing these at. We can go on the Dell website, and like I said, there's so many variations that you can do versus the R7 versus the R8. But like I said, going into the entry-level i7 part of those builds, really the graphics card is the only thing that changes. We're going to talk about now the price point. So when we're looking at apples to apples, we're comparing apples to apples. We're going R7, i7 processor, the standard build, and the R8. There's a lot of R's. with the same Intel i7 processor, 6-core processor, A700. So let's look at the price difference on Amazon. And what we see is that entry point for the R7 is going to be $1,578 versus the R8 at $2,089. So I went ahead and I looked up and I got an average on that RTX graphics card to see what the price points were. And it was around that $700 range. And what I came up with is basically, if you have never bought the R7 and you're thinking about, should I buy the R7 or buy the R8, I would recommend you're gonna get a $130 discount on that graphics card if you buy the R8. So if you're not really super concerned about the graphics card and you're okay, like Dale was, with going with the 1070 or even possibly upgrade to the 1080 in the R7, it's going to be ample for you as far as starting streaming gaming or any other type of content or doing video editing. Like once again, that's where it comes down to. I'm not trashing on the R8. I'm not trying to trash on anyone who upgrades from the R7 to the R8 because then you can set up a 2 PC streaming rig. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, I'd love that. So ultimately, I'm looking at R7s being at about $1,500 and the R8s being about $2,000, $2,100. So there's about a $500 difference.
Correct.
Is it really worth it if somebody's going to go to buy a computer for them to go for the R8, or should they just go for the R7?
And once again, that comes up to whether or not they are wanting that upgrade to that RTX 2080. So once again, you are getting $130 off versus if you went into, say, any kind of electronics store or went online and bought that graphics card just by itself.
Yeah.
So it's automatically taken $130 off of it. You know, Alienware is basically giving you that discount by buying the R8. But once again, like I said, I think it's overkill, and if you watch the prices, now that there's a lot less bit mining with the graphics cards and whatnot, we're starting to see the graphics card prices come down a little bit. But then again, with tariffs here in the United States, we're going to be paying a lot more taxes on our electronics now that they put tariffs on any of these electronic imports. So right now, I would say, you know, if you like the bragging rights on having the RTX 1080, or I'm sorry, 2080, or you're wanting to start using those options within Streamlabs OBS or OBS Studio where you're using the GPU, those are a little bit more dialed in than they were before with the 1070s and 1080s.
And if you'd like to see a little bit more of a breakdown on the Alienware Aurora R7, I definitely recommend you check out one of our most popular videos down below. We'll see you on over there.